Hello, welcome to another episode of Somewhere Between a film and TV podcast. We're your hosts. I am Daniel Parra.
And I'm Erwin Trejo.
Yes. What we like to do here is we like to review movies and TV shows and trash talk ASMR. Anyway, everything we review also has full spoilers. And in this one in particular, it's not one of those like spoiler heavy types of movies, but there are plot elements of it that I would not dare ruin. I noticed something he brings back for this movie that we'll get into. I thought the editing in it was audacious and insane and really...
What do you mean?
Like it has these quick cuts, but not in the sense that you don't know what's going on.
Okay.
He uses them for the sense of impact and that things are moving at a really fast rate.
Okay.
And time sort of moves by faster than it actually does in real life to really feel that intensity that these characters are going through.
Yeah.
So he does have a style, but his style sort of goes back and forth, and he is always changing what he's doing.
Okay.
In terms of the way he addresses his movies. Is one of his core themes in his movies always romance? Yes.
Okay.
Is the way he addresses it super unconventional every single time? Yes. Is the way his filmmaking style is the same way? Definitely. Because Suspiria, while it didn't have that romance angle or anything, the horror in it is really great. The impact of like the just sort of weird obsession of the characters is great too. Bones and All fits more in the Call Me By Your Name category mixed in with Suspiria because he has a fusion of horror and romance.
Okay.
While I like the Twilight movies in a way,
Yes.
Bones and All is if those movies were genuinely well done.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're my guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
The way that every single trailer or ad that came out for this movie, it was literally the shot of Zendaya and Mike Faist and what was the other guy's name?
Josh O'Connor.
Josh O'Connor.
Yeah.
On the bed.
Yeah.
Every single time.
No,
and
that's
so
like
I'm
the shot that's in everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm just thinking, I'm like, I really hope it doesn't just showcase it as just like one long like sexual scene.
Yeah, because you're weird about sex scenes.
I mean, just think of it. If you're gonna have a sex scene, it better be important. That's it, and not just showcase it.
So this has been marketed really heavily as like a very like sexually themed movie, and it is. But I really don't think in the way that
people
it's.
Yes, I agree with that.
Because I think that this movie's tense as fuck.
Yes.
But like not in the way that you're really anticipating. And I think really the energy that it comes with, where these people are, instead of addressing things outspoken, it's through their movement, through the way they look at each other, through, it's sort of a core theme early on. You realize in this movie, the way the core three are they ever talking about tennis or are they talking about relationships? And I think that is the core idea of this movie, and it's the core idea that Zendaya, this character, addresses early on is that she
I have to say Zendaya's character in this movie not the best.
I don't think any of them are the best.
Well, I would say Mike Faist's character, I would say he's probably like the best. I would say
I found them,
at least he admits to what he's doing.
Yeah, I found them all manipulative, but he's the one that's maybe the most outspoken about it.
Yeah,
and there's even a moment towards the end. Everything we had say has full spoilers, by the way,
spoilers.
Because I really want to talk about the way this movie works.
Yes.
Because I didn't think that there would be a whole lot to talk about. I was super excited for this, though.
Yes.
I love the trailer. I love the marketing, everything about it.
Yeah.
I don't know shit about tennis.
I know nothing about sports.
I do love sports movies, though, because they are an indicator of... They make you care about the sport because they care about the sport.
Oh, Moneyball?
Moneyball's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about math. I'm not good at it. I'm an English person. I'm
trying to think of other like sports. Oh, of course,
Creed.
like any of the boxing movies.
Yeah.
I see anything that's boxing related, I would watch. If anything, those type of movies always makes me want to like get into any type of like fighting style.
In this movie, when she dislocates her knee, or not even dislocates, I think she tears her ACL because the brace she wears. I had to wear that one.
Yeah,
I looked really familiar. I was like, I have that in my room somewhere.
Yeah.
But the performances in this are phenomenal.
Yes.
If they're not as good as they are, then this movie doesn't work. Who was your favorite out of the core three? Or do you think that they were all like as good as each other?
For sure, they were all great.
Yeah.
I would say the one that stood out to me the most was either Zendaya or Josh O'Connor.
Really?
Yeah. I think, especially Josh O'Connor, I think he's very, how do I say, he's very straightforward on what he says he wants.
Yeah.
And how he is. And I love how he's, like what you said, like manipulative.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie and what he wants to get and where he wants to be. And just the things he's saying and how he like presents it. But with Zendaya, what I loved about her, it's just she says so much without saying anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's like so many different implications in this movie that you're kind of like, how much of this is coordinated? How much of this is planned? Because there's even a line where he's like, you set this up, and she's like, not this part.
Yeah.
And even to an extent, though, I'm like, I still think that a whole lot of it, eventually to the point where they get to that.
Yes.
The way this movie's structured is insane. Mm-hmm. I saw a review that someone compared it to being structured like Dunkirk, and that's true, actually.
I don't remember Dunkirk as much.
Dunkirk is laid out with like the final act being interspersed throughout the entire movie.
Oh, okay.
And the way this movie works is so cool.
Yes.
Because it starts off with the final match, but you don't know why it's important yet.
Yes.
And as the movie goes on more and more, you realize that it's such a simple...
So many layers.
Yeah. It's such a simple contrast.
Yes.
That they are... Especially at the moment whenever they're like announcing the names, and then the guy, like Josh O'Connor's character, has like a couple people there, and then my Faist character has so many people there supporting him.
Yes.
And then it cuts back and they're best friends. Mm-hmm. And you're just sort of like, okay, where is this going? I think you are immediately hooked. And us talking about this, I haven't even asked you yet. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere between?
I am loving it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, I adored this movie.
Yeah. I do have like one or two issues that I do want to talk about.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now or later?
Let's wait.
Okay.
Because
sounds good.
No, the way it's laid out is it just bounces back and forth between different time periods.
Like a tennis ball.
No, that's exactly it. There are moments where their conversations are structured as if they are in a match with each other, because it'll pace back and forth.
Yes.
And it's really the language of the camera guiding you, because I think the more and more tense this movie gets, I noticed the more kind of outlandish some of the camera angles get. Yes. Because the third act of this fucking blew my mind. Because it was
I love the last, what was it, like hour, I would say. It's a whole different pacing, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just because like it's just how the matches were going in tennis.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I love when movies make me start caring about sports, because now I'm like, okay, I want to pay attention.
No, I'm like, I care. And then I care. All of a sudden, I know every single thing about about this.
It just
sport.
felt like every single time it went back to the past.
Yeah,
right? That felt like a match of what was happening, and like how it kept continuing on later up to the final match that they were in. And so that was like amazing to see, and the editing in this was insane. I love the fact that it was able to jump back and forth without feeling overwhelmed or confusing.
No, I don't think I think there was just one singular moment where I was like, where are we? And it was whenever they walked into it was the sauna. And I was like, oh, he has the beard, so it's right now.
Oh, I was thinking it was like, oh, his haircut.
Yeah. And I really think, just addressing this because I got to put this out there, I think Josh O'Connor looks like the guy from Ratatouille.
Yeah, he does.
In a good way. I'm not like critiquing that. I just kept thinking that he looked like that.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the standouts were... But the thing is, I've seen Zendaya in Euphoria. And
I've seen Zendaya in everything. The way they talk about Zendaya's character in this movie, it's like, it's so us.
Yeah.
Right?
But I think she's incredible.
Why?
In this. Because she's a great actress.
Oh.
This is one of those movies that it's early on, but I really hope is in like Oscar conversation.
I hope so too. It's well deserved.
For everything, for editing, cinematography. This movie has a really specific style.
I was thinking the last like 30 minutes, like there were so many amazing shots of when it's all slow-mo.
Oh yeah.
It was just amazing. I loved it so much.
There was one moment, there's a bunch of choices in this movie that are there to analyze.
Yes.
And one of them is whenever the frame rate of the slow motion changes to be like, and there's like a freeze frame whenever, and that I'm so annoyed that one shot was on Twitter that people were talking about. The one, so I kept seeing something before we saw this movie that was like, this shot blew my mind. And they were like, out of context, it makes no sense, but in context, it's like the most tense thing.
Yeah.
And it's the moment whenever he's like, you have a tick, and then later on, he puts the ball inside of the racket. And
did you guess it at the end?
I figured out what it was going to be whenever they first do it. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because I told you I have a bad habit of like thinking about that too much, and I was like, I bet anything.
Well, if you overthink about it, eventually you're gonna be right about it.
It just makes me mad that people aren't considerate about that at all. But for me, the reason why I got past it is because I didn't know just how long the camera lingers on his face and like the pacing of it. And the way the score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross like pulses and pounds, because it's like a really synth heavy. It sounds like a club beat. I think the score in this is amazing, and it drops at
like with all the techno.
Yeah,
I don't know. With me, that was one thing where I felt like certain scenes it worked, but then other scenes where it felt, I guess when it was slow mo and the techno music was happening, I felt like maybe if it wasn't there, it would have been more impactful.
Was that one of the things that you were going to bring up?
Yeah, I was going to bring up that. It was just like, because I love the score, but I just think depending on how, like when it was used, for me at least.
For me, it worked because they all have different themes, and the one with...
But it all sounded the same.
No, the one with Zendaya has like a specific word that's repeated over and over.
Oh, okay.
And then Josh O'Connor's basically anytime he like does that smile where he's like, ha ha, I got you.
Yeah.
But it's also really funny. This movie's really funny, I think. And this movie just has this like really, there's things that are weird about it for sure. But there's just these really tense individual moments where they're having conversations with each other.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And it's all about what's not being said instead of all of the things that are actually being addressed.
Yeah. I think that's when Zendaya's character, or at least when her acting was showcasing a lot, because a lot of times like she only spoke in terms of tennis.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think the movie, it tried to explain to you how tennis is being played out.
Yeah.
And so whenever Zendaya is talking about her relationship with both of them, you can only understand through like the terminology of tennis.
That's why there's these individual moments whenever, I think it's repeated a couple times, whenever it's like, I don't want to talk to you about tennis. It's like, then what the fuck are we talking about?
Exactly. I was like, what?
I really love this line with Josh O'Connor whenever they're talking about being a child, and he's like, of course I'm a child. I've like only played with a racket and a ball my entire life.
Yeah.
I think that like...
Oh, that line too when Zendaya was... Or when he says to Zendaya, where it's like, like, how would you feel? Or something about like him, like, once he's done, like he retires and everything. It's like, you don't love him. Like, if he's not a tennis player, then what is he to you?
It's just all these like individual things where you're like, this is true. And then you said that his character was the only one really calling everybody out.
Yes.
And
see, and that's where... and my other thing was with Mike Faist's character.
Yeah.
I wish he had a bit more screen time and just understanding how he feels about the entire thing. Because he does a lot of acting on how Zendaya acted as well.
Yeah.
Just showcasing just emotionally how he's physically feeling.
Yeah.
But not a lot of how he's like, what he's thinking about and what he's like emotionally talking about.
Interestingly enough, I feel like that's his character's actual approach to that, though.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of convinced that was intentional. They all have these different ways of manipulating each other.
Yeah.
It's just kind of about the ways in which they go about it.
Yeah.
And his is the most deliberately quiet.
Yes.
And I think he's the one that... This movie is another one where we were talking about a movie that had a lot of face acting.
Yes.
This one does for sure. There are so many individual close-ups.
Yes.
Where they're like looking at each other in a certain way, and you're like, what does this mean? What are they thinking about?
Yeah.
And then it'll cut back, and then it'll be like, so this is actually this moment that happened a couple hours ago, or the previous night, or anything like that. But really, the way I love that this movie escalates is it kind of lulls you in a little bit. Like, it starts off, and you don't really understand. Watching this again, I can't even imagine. Yeah. Like, because you're going to understand so much more about the characters. I bet anything this gets even better on repeat viewings because of the way it's structured.
I just think what they do a great job in this movie as well where they try to bring you into this relationship that they're all having, because at the end it's a relationship between all of them. And I know that's like the main theme that they were talking about throughout this whole movie, and that's where I think it kind of downgraded for me, just because of how it's like you see everyone else, like with Mike Faist's character with Josh O'Connor, like it was strong. I love their relationship in this, and then Josh O'Connor and Zendaya together, and I just wish I got more of a connection between Zendaya and Michael Faist.
I think they're
not Michael Faist, just Mike Faist.
Mike Faist. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said Josh O'Connor.
Maybe
Mike Faist.
Maybe it's because I adored this so much.
Yeah.
But I'm convinced that some of the stuff you're talking about, it's like intentional.
Yeah.
Because there's a line where they talk about how he's like, I don't think you like him. He's like, I think you hate him.
Yeah.
And I was like, you do get that feeling.
I think it's because like later on in the movie, so like whenever they talk about the past stuff, you see it.
Yeah.
Right. Great. But then later on in, I guess, like current time.
Yeah.
I don't see what like she's actually feeling. Of course, she's showcasing it through her actions and like how she's saying it too. But I just don't think there was enough of it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, because the third act, the way it escalates is to a point where you're just like, I think I did the meme where the guy like leans forward, because it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then it starts to turn into these first person shots.
Yes.
And then you like are literally the ball. And then it has this fucking insane shot where they're like underneath the court.
Yes. With both of them in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great shot.
I liked the utilization of actual camera angles to escalate the more and more it went on.
Yeah.
I felt like the more it went, the more the camera decided to move. And I think that was entirely by design.
Yeah.
That way you could sort of feel this freewheeling movement around. And at the end of the day, I think Zendaya's entire character motivation is just simply to see the best match you could possibly see.
I thought it was, well, for me, it was bringing back the feeling that she had when she played tennis.
Yeah.
Because she had so much like energy when she was able to play just to play tennis. And of course, once the accident happened, she just was quiet.
Yeah.
She was very reserved and everything. And it wasn't until the very end, whenever she screamed again.
Yeah.
Because
they repeated that.
Yes.
Yeah, they're like, I've never seen anything like that. And then she repeats it again at the end. Because I love that there was this shot earlier where she's staring straight ahead because she's not engaged, but everybody else is going back and forth. But then whenever they finally start, like after he does that thing with the ball, and it really sort of pulses, and then the score is pounding and getting louder. And I just thought,
I love tennis now.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever play it. I don't think I'd be any good.
I don't think I'd be good either.
I know that pickleball's a thing now, but if whoever is listening to this though right now is hearing me compare pickleball to tennis and getting really mad at me, because apparently they're different enough, and tennis players hate pickleball. I think
drama.
I was just listening about that apparently pickleball has taken over tennis courts, and people that love tennis are really mad about that, because they're like, get out of here with your hobby. And are there any other flaws you have with this, or were those just the two?
Yeah, it was just those two.
Really?
I think mainly I would say it's probably just the music, I guess, the sound of it. Just that's the only thing that kind of like took me out of it, because at moments I was like, okay, like it works, but in other moments where I felt like maybe if it wasn't there, it would have been more impactful towards me. Yeah, I can get by with the whole Mike Face character. I probably would, maybe after watching it again. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have full intentions of watching this again, because I want to see how it plays on like a repeat. Yes, I agree. And I mean in theaters, because I think that this movie is so well designed in every single kind of way. I don't know. They made tennis look intense, maybe too intense for me, because I was like, I don't know how the people that play this. Yeah, I love how much they were sweating and everything. It's just like the tiredness, like whenever the sounds that they were making. Oh yeah, when they were hitting it back and forth. It is. But it was funny at first. I'm not gonna lie. I heard just hearing Mike Face going, ugh. And I'm like, damn. But it's just like at one point you're just like, oh wow, they're like.
I wouldn't grunt like that in tennis.
I would grunt.
I would go, like
We're like,
What's your overall score for this
we
movie?
should do a mukbang now.
Bang who?
No. Oh.
Yucky.
I would say 4.5 out of 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going all the way with this one. 5 out of 5.
Yo!
I thought this movie was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
I genuinely, I was baffled by it in like all the best ways possible. Yeah. It was one of those things where I was like, I think this will be.
It was fast paced.
Yeah.
For over 2 hours, it did not feel that way.
Yeah, you even asked me how long it was. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, it is really romance centric. If you see people like talking about like how, like they describe them as like steamy movies or whatever, it is not in the way that you might think. I mean, we obviously just spoiled a bunch of it.
Yes.
But if somehow you listen through this entire thing and you still want to see it, please do. It's incredible. And it's mostly about...
But even I feel like even if you do spoil this movie, it's not the same when you go watch it. Because a lot of it is said without being said.
It's about the performances in this especially. And I think that like I can't stand whenever people do like Wikipedia articles like instead of actually watching the movie.
Who does that?
Dude, I know a few people that do that.
Oh, wow. I don't know anybody.
That's not actual movie consumption. I know like 4 people. And every time anybody
call them out.
Anytime anybody ever tells me that though, I'm like, okay, well, you haven't seen it, so. Well, I adored this. This is definitely going to be like, I already know it'll be top 5, top 10 by the end of the year. One other thing I want to mention before we wrap this up, I loved the old school editing techniques in this, in that there's some like freeze frames in this that I really like. I haven't seen a freeze frame in a while.
Yeah.
And there's one of Zendaya like walking through a hallway, and then she kind of like sort of fades into the hallway. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
But no, I just liked it a lot.
Oh, okay.
It's a small thing. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you
so much, everybody, for listening.
Hey, you too.
We'll see you next time.